Hello, everyone. I am Professor Sarah Hammer of the Wharton School, the University of Pennsylvania, and the University of Pennsylvania Law School. And I am so excited to be here today with you to talk about global game changers and the future of finance. I'll be focused today on non-fungible tokens and their potential to unlock value and power social impact. This is an area I'm keenly interested in, and it's an area that we're very deeply engaged in at the Stevens Center for Innovation and Finance at the Wharton School and at Cypher Accelerator, our crypto accelerator run by an incredible team of students from the University of Pennsylvania. I first became interested in blockchain technology many years ago during my time in asset management and portfolio management, when I saw the incredible potential in financial infrastructure to increase efficiencies, reduce cost, and reduce the amount of systemic risk in our system through the use of technology. You may know that when we settle a payment, for example, through Venmo or even a swaps trade between two banks, that it can take up to days to clear and settle and exchange cash between counterparties on that particular transaction. This particular discrepancy increases risk in our system. It's costly and it's time consuming. But blockchain technology offers the potential to reduce this risk and improve the way our financial system works. When I discovered this, I became fascinated with financial technology and blockchain and had to learn more about it. During my time at US Treasury, I led a great deal of work around opportunities for financial technology and ways that we could adjust our regulatory framework based on these new technologies. And since coming to the Wharton School, I've been privileged to be able to work directly on fintech and crypto, as well as with our Cypher Accelerator, to scale and launch some of the world's leading companies in the blockchain ecosystem. Let's talk a little bit about blockchain. Blockchain technology is a very transformative type of technology that traces its origins to the underlying technology of Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. In fact, I often remind my students that the two are not the same thing. Blockchain technology is the engine that powers cryptocurrency. And the central concept of the technology is that it is a decentralized distributed ledger to organize and manage data that doesn't require the use of a central counterparty. Blockchain is applicable, therefore, not only to finance, but also to many other industries: travel, energy, for example, real estate. In fact, at our Cypher Accelerator at the Wharton School, we worked with a company that's using blockchain technology to manage energy data for individuals so they can analyze more efficient allocation of energy. We also worked with a healthcare company that's using blockchain technology to manage supply chain for surgical devices. But these are just a couple of examples of some of the ways that this technology can be transformative. The common thread is that blockchain technology is distributed by many different computers, managing and validating transactions across a wide network, as opposed to a single system that's managing all of the data. So compare this, for example, to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a traditional database system where all of the data is centrally managed on a single server or a single computer. Therefore, if one wants to make a change to Wikipedia, you can simply go to the central system and make an edit or a change. This has advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is that theoretically, the data is centrally controlled. And for some things, this might be the optimal way of managing technology and data. But it also creates a single point of failure, for example. That means that a hacker can go into the Wikipedia system and take down the entire system just by attacking a single point of entry. Contrast this with blockchain technology, where many different validators are validating simultaneously the same transaction. Now, if I'm a hacker, it becomes impossible to do this because I would have to go into every single node in the distributed ledger in order to hack simultaneously. And currently, there's no computer that's fast enough to do this. Satoshi Nakamoto, the person or persons known as, first introduced the idea of blockchain technology with Bitcoin back in 2008. And the idea was to power cryptocurrency using a distributed ledger. Importantly, today there are thousands upon thousands of cryptocurrencies that are also using various types of blockchain technology. Each of them has its own blockchain protocol or set of rules for managing the system. So, blockchain technology has a fundamentally different structure than traditional technology for managing data. And that is its primary difference between traditional database systems. This is an innovation in information that can transform many parts of our financial system, from financial infrastructure to the way we clear and settle payments to trading and other types of activities done by individuals. One other thing to note is that blockchain technology is actually not new. People are often surprised to hear this. In fact, it's just a combination of technologies that are being applied in a different way or a new way. Blockchain technology involves a private key, for example, the use of an encrypted code to access the system, the peer-to-peer network that we discussed earlier, which is a system of many different computers all validating transactions simultaneously, and the blockchain protocol that we mentioned, which is the program or set of rules for managing the platform. Now let's talk about non-fungible tokens. What are these? We've seen the rise of NFTs over the last couple of years and leading up to and subsequently from the pandemic. Non-fungible tokens are interesting because they're also powered by blockchain, but they're different in many ways from cryptocurrency. Essentially, a non fungible token, or an NFT, is simply a unit of data stored on a blockchain. The NFT may be associated with a digital file, such as a photo, a video, or an audio recording. But in an NFT, unlike with cryptocurrency, each individual token is uniquely identifiable, meaning it's different. Every NFT is different from any other NFT. Therefore, the NFT has the attributes of blockchain technology, but each asset is individually different. What does this do? Well, it can do many interesting things. The NFT, because it's powered by blockchain, can establish something called provenance. As a lawyer, I love the concept of provenance because it's a lot like chain of custody in the legal world. All provenance means is that the NFT can record the history of the movement and activity of the digital asset on blockchain over time. So, for example, every time the NFT is traded, bought, and sold, that transaction, the date, the time, and the amount will be recorded on blockchain. On the blockchain means that the transaction details are permanent and immutable. So the NFT has the same attributes as cryptocurrency or other uses of blockchain, but each asset is uniquely identifiable. What provenance does is it establishes contextual and circumstantial evidence for the production of that asset. And as we'll talk about now, that can increase the value of an asset. And that's why we've seen the rise of NFTs in arts and entertainment. In addition, what provenance can do it can establish authentication. That means that it can show who the owner is of the digital asset. Now, one of the reasons that we've seen the rise of NFTs in blockchain in the arts and entertainment community is because of this authentication. Take, for example, a song written by an artist. If I'm an artist and I mint an NFT and put it on blockchain, it can be easier for me to establish the subsequent movement of that file over time and to benefit from the economics of subsequent sales. We'll talk a little bit more about this. In addition, because NFTs enable authentication, I can prove that I am the original artist who created that song. And this is one of the many benefits that NFTs can offer. In the world of art, provenance is very important. For example, if I buy a painting, a Picasso, for example, or a Matisse, I want to know the history of that painting. I want to know who owned it before me, what was the price, when did they own it, what's the history and the story behind that asset. Provenance records that automatically for me on the blockchain in an immutable or permanent way. Interestingly enough, in the art world, historically, one of the only ways of recording provenance was on paper. So transactions were written, the terms were recorded, but that record could be lost over time. In the blockchain world, the digital record is permanent, and the provenance, therefore, can be used to increase the value or to truly understand the value of the asset over time. Provenance can also establish that the work of art in particular is not a forgery or a replication or reproduction. This is another really important aspect in the art world or in the entertainment world, where we want to know that the item in question is authentic and created by that artist. As I mentioned, provenance is akin to chain of custody, and that means that we record the history of the thing over time and it can't be altered. So, provenance can be useful not just in art, but also, for example, in the books and manuscripts world, where we want to know what the history is of a rare book. In fact, provenance and NFTs, therefore, can also be used to record history for things like wines or classic cars or other items from a library or a museum. Even archaeology, recording the history of a set of bones, for example, can help the archaeologist understand the history of the item and understand its value. But how do NFTs work? Well, NFTs are simply digital assets created by a contract or a set of code written on a blockchain. And while there are many different blockchains where NFTs can be created, just as there are many different cryptocurrencies on different blockchain protocols, most NFTs are created on a network known as Ethereum. Ethereum, in fact, has a number of different what are called protocols or standards for recording NFTs. And the ERC 721 standard is the standard that enabled the creation of many, many different types of NFTs. That standard simply sets the terms for different types of NFTs, and it allows the artist to take a digital file, for example, and mint it, write the contract, and create a token on blockchain. Another thing that's necessary in the NFT world is to have a digital wallet. So once one creates the token on the blockchain, it needs to be held somewhere. And that's where a digital wallet comes into play. There are also many different types of digital wallets, MetaMask, for example, being one of them. And once the NFT is minted on the Ethereum network, for example, the token or the NFT is held in the digital wallet. It can be displayed many different ways if it's a visual item, and it can even potentially be transferred, as we talked about earlier. All right, so there are definitely many emerging legal issues around NFTs, and without diving into all of them, we'll touch on a few. The most prominent issue that's often discussed around NFTs is intellectual property. And the important thing to know about NFTs is that one has to own the rights to the asset in order to create the NFT, just as one has to own the rights to an asset in order to create any other asset from that asset. So, for example, if I paint a picture, I have the copyright or the intellectual property rights to that asset. I can therefore mint the NFT. But if someone else paints the NFT picture, I can't create my own NFT because I don't own the intellectual property rights. This is something very important to know and is still very much in discussion and in dispute in the NFT world. In addition, there are issues around securities regulation, for example, taxation of the assets, and how they will be treated over time. But in terms of understanding the future of finance, there's no question that the ability to create a digital asset uniquely on blockchain with the properties of provenance, immutability, the ability to establish and authenticate the ownership of an asset is well worth thinking through the forthcoming legal issues and how those issues will be settled over time. So let's talk a little bit about social impact. Now, one of the reasons that artists became interested in NFTs is not only the properties of blockchain and the properties of provenance, but also something called royalties. That means when the contract is written, the royalties can be programmed into the non fungible token. In the physical world, if I'm an artist and I write a song, I am entitled to royalties on subsequent sales or resales of my song. But it can be incredibly difficult to collect those royalties. In fact, sometimes it's impossible. In the blockchain world, one of the reasons the technology is transformative is because those royalties can be automatically enforced or paid through blockchain. There are certainly nuances around this, but it has potential not only for arts and entertainment, but also for social impact applications. For example, suppose I'm Beeple and I want to create a piece of art and I want to dedicate all proceeds of that art to charity. I can write into the smart contract of my NFT that 10% of all subsequent sales of that digital asset will go to a nonprofit. And in fact, this has been done. I see here some of the more expensive NFTs that have been sold. But in fact, there have been NFTs created by some of these famous artists with benefits to go exclusively to charity. And that's something that we at the Wharton School are continuing to research and engage in over time. One of the more expensive NFTs that was auctioned in recent history was the source code for the internet. Intellectual property transformed by Sir Tim Berners-Lee and minted into an NFT with the proceeds, $5.4 million, going to charity. I'm also pleased to tell you about the recent bringing to market of the very first digital asset by the University of Pennsylvania, a beautiful non-fungible token memorializing the mRNA technology that enabled the COVID-19 vaccines that was auctioned by Christie's in July of 2022, with proceeds going to benefit ongoing research at the University of Pennsylvania. This is a project that my team and I led, working with the scientists at Penn Medicine. A huge privilege to be able to do this, and on-roaded the University of Pennsylvania to the world of blockchain and all of its potential. So there are many other use cases for NFTs, and I'm excited to hear about how they pan out. There's a lot of potential here. For example, using NFTs for healthcare data management or to better manage supply chain. Certainly in the gaming space, in the Web3 world, non-fungible tokens are really the key way to authenticate a transaction. And for example, using non-fungible tokens to authenticate transactions in the real estate world. All of these potential applications are being explored and all have the potential to truly change the game. So, I'm very excited about the long term potential for social impact or using this technology for philanthropic purposes, and proud to support this mission through our work at the Wharton School. And I'm excited to get to know all of you who are interested in this issue as well. Please reach out to us if you'd like to be involved. It's a great way to leave our footprint on the world, to think about how this technology can not only improve our financial system, but also to benefit those who may be able to use it for many important causes. Thanks so much for your time today.